Hi, this is Ted. Today I'm going to be talking about Bill Hamon. First of all, who is Bill Hamon? Dr. Bishop Bill Hamon. I call him Mother Hamon because back in October 15th of 1988, God gave him a revelation that he was going to birth a movement, and it turned out to be the prophetic movement, and it is the prophetic movement that we know of today. He considers himself the mother of that movement. He worked with C. Peter Wagner. C. Peter Wagner worked with the apostles. He worked with the prophets. Together, they created the New Apostolic Reformation, and this is Ted. Bye.
Or in 1984, I was at a conference at an old prophet. He was 60 some odd years old. Now he's a young prophet. Of course, I conducted his funeral about 15 years ago. He's really young now. But he prophesied to me, and he says, Dr. Hamon, he said, in 5 years, there's going to be a move of God at your conference that's going to go around the world and change the actions and the works of the ministry of the church. Well, 4 years later, in 1988, on October the 15th, Wednesday night, God sovereignly moved in and birthed the prophetic movement, took me up in the heavenlies, and he showed me this little baby in his hand. And he said, would you help me raise this baby to maturity? And it was a baby of the prophetic movement. And I said, yes, Lord. So I took a role in that.
In his 16th chapter of a book that he's written, it'll be marked right here. In fact, you're going to see the book right now. All right, in this chapter, he talks about why it's so important to write down the prophecies you're given. And I think a lot of this comes down to protect the integrity of the person giving the prophecy. And we will see in this that Bill actually is dealing with the Barnum effect. And he doesn't realize what he's dealing with. Nevertheless, he is dealing with it, and you will see that. Now, first of all, what is the Barnum effect? The Barnum effect is something that is used by many fake psychics, and it is something that is stumbled upon by prophets and psychics as well who believe they are genuine. It's stumbled upon because it works, and it works well. And what it is you give out a generalization. And in this generalization, people will find specifics. I'm going to give you a few examples, and the examples will come straight from his book. And he will then show you why it's so important when you get a general prophecy, why it's important to write it down. But it's not just general. He wants you to write down everything. And I need to say something also real quickly. I don't know every prophecy that he's ever given. I just have a book that he talks in. He's got a few examples of stuff he's given, and I see generalizations already. Nevertheless, I have not heard everything that he's ever said, so I don't know. I can't tell how much has ever happened or not happened, but I will stick with the few that I have gotten from his book in chapter 16 and the examples he uses to tell you why you need to write down the prophecy. And the basic premise that he's going to present is a way to protect the prophet, the one who prophesies, from being accused of being a false prophet. Because a lot of times people think and will believe that what the prophet gave to them is not true because it didn't happen as they expected. That's why Bill wants you to write down the prophecy you get so that the prophet then can go scot-free, because the prophet did not say what you thought they said. And the reason there is a difference between the two is because the Barnum effect is set up to do exactly that. All right, let's get into it. Here's the generalization. Somebody gets a word from Bill Hamon, and the word is, among, of course, pages and pages, because he's talking about when you write down, you're going to be writing down pages and pages of prophecy God gives to you. Okay, whatever. So this particular part, though, something really struck and stuck to somebody. God will give you the desire of your heart. Bill said that to a woman. Okay, that's the generalization. Now, she takes that very specifically, and she believes that this means that she's going to marry the pastor of the church, because the desire of her heart is to marry the single pastor of the church. Okay, so it doesn't happen. The pastor falls in love with somebody else, gets married to somebody else, and she comes to Bill and said, you said that God would give me the desire of my heart. He didn't. So you're wrong. No, I'm adding a little bit on that last part. Nevertheless, Bill has the perfect solution. Look to your notes. So what did you write down? And what did I say word for word? And she says, well, word for word, God will give you the desire of your heart. And Bill says, does that say that he will give you the husband, your pastor? No. But that was the desire of my heart. Now I'm adding a little bit. He just makes it very quickly, and he moves on to the next generalization that he's going to talk about. But no, I wanted the pastor. That's the only thing that was the desire of my heart. And, this is what she's probably thinking, but she's going to back down a little bit. Okay, realize that the prophet telling her that this is not what I said. God has said through me, he'll give you the desire of your heart. Well, that doesn't mean the pastor. Well, I'm sure she's thinking, well, what else do I really want? Maybe the desire of your heart is a dog, okay? Be happy with that dog. All right, now a lot of psychics don't get that feedback. They don't have the person coming to them and saying, why didn't it take place? And generally speaking, I'm guessing this woman came to him and to Bill and said, why didn't it happen? The desire of my heart did not happen. Why not? She's wanting to know, and she still believes Bill is a man of God who hears directly from God, but she just doesn't get it. And of course, he hides behind the generalization and says, you got to write it down and take it word for word. But that is also ambivalent. In other words, it could mean many, many things, because I desire many things in life. So for me to hear God will give you the desire of your heart, well, are we talking about all my bills to be paid? Are we talking about me having an opportunity that I don't have right now and I want that opportunity? What are we talking about here? Let's get specific, people. Bill hides behind the generalization. He's actually building a wall of protection. He doesn't recognize that this is a trick that psychics use, and prophets as well. What he sees is that I can hide behind this generalization, and that seems to be the focus of his. You make sure you write down everything, because I didn't tell you you would marry your pastor. I told you from God that he would give you the desire of your heart. All right, the next generalization, I will supply your need. For to deny you would be to deny myself. This is something that he got, a word from another prophet. And he's thinking, I need money. I need like $20,000, $30,000 in the next couple of days to meet the need for something. And the prophet says to him, I will. God speaks to the prophet, I will. Let me read it. I will supply your need. For to deny you would be to deny myself. God really, really, really is very adamant. I'm going to provide your need. It didn't happen. Bill didn't get the money he wanted. So, did God disappoint him? We're dealing with the Barnum effect again. He heard a very generalization. God is going to provide for your need. And he made it specific to the need that he needs, that he wants at that point in time. But it didn't happen. Therefore, now rather than to accept the fact that, okay, this guy's off his rocker, he's wrong. Why? Because that also has implications on his own ministry. No, so rather than accept that and take the consequences, he has to come up with a reason, a way to get around this so the prophet's right. And because the prophet gave him a generalization, he can hide behind that. And that becomes, yes, God promises to meet my need. I guess I just didn't need the money at that point for whatever it was. He doesn't explain what it was. So the generalization on this one he gives to a guy is, don't be discouraged. Don't blame yourself. I have not failed you. Of course, this is buried in like 5-6 pages of prophecy, I'm sure. But don't be discouraged. Don't blame yourself. I have not failed you. I'm still in control. Okay. So this guy comes to Bill and he says, I'm not discouraged. I'm not blaming myself for anything. But a year later, and this Bill says, just because it's present tense, when I give a message doesn't mean that it's not going to happen in the future, that you don't need it for the future. Oh, this covers himself. Because a year later, now this is a faith-believing guy. In other words, you name it, you claim it, and they're having a child, and he's claiming that child will be born healthy. He's claiming it. And when the child is dead on birth, he claims he's going to rise up. But it doesn't happen. And he's really discouraged. And he's blaming himself for not having enough faith. And somebody says, reread that prophecy. So he read that prophecy that Bill gave him a year previous. Sure enough, that's the solution. Don't blame yourself. I am in control. Okay. The girl can't marry the pastor. And the money doesn't come in. There's failures. But the generalization and the ambivalence can protect the prophet or the prophetess and keep them in high honor because it really did happen. You just didn't see it. So you need to stop looking just at the present when you receive that revelation and accept it whenever it happens and however it happens. There's so much ambivalence and generality in all of this. It's kind of sad. And this is Ted. You all have a good day.